It's time once again. It's another amazing interview today and an Ask Five. Today we have Mark Hughes, who is really amazing real estate industry leader and influencer. Done everything from being a top producing agent to managing broker to even an author of real estate, one already published book and working on another. Matt, this is going to be a good one.
It is going to be a good one. So join us, sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and join us on the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast.
You've reached the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. And now your hosts, Jan O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Well, welcome everyone to the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. This is episode 238, and you can find all of our show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. Jan O'Brien. Last week, we got some really good response on our first in the series of, is it right for you to open your own brokerage? So I'm looking forward to jumping into the next two parts of that series coming up over the next few weeks. But today, we have Mark Hughes, as you just mentioned, in the podcast studio. So let's go ahead and bring Mark in.
Plus, now I want to get his opinion on owning your own brokerage.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah,
letting someone else do it. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Jan, I'm gonna bump you out and move Mark to the middle because you got to put the rose between the two thorns. there you go.
About that.
Welcome.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Let me just do a quick little intro on Mark. Actually, there's no such thing as a quick little intro on Mark, because Mark actually has done a lot over the span of his career.
I'm old. I think that's what you're saying.
Oh no, I don't.
You're seasoned, well seasoned.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. Mark started as an agent at Remax. I always enjoy the fact that that people get so high up and do so well in real estate, and then get out of real estate and do something. Not get out of real estate, but get out of selling real estate and do something else. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, because that's a career path. That's a career path choice that a lot of people take, and I think a lot of people say, well, why would you do that when you're in the top 1%? Anyway, Mark owned Sotheby's International Realty affiliate. He was the president of Windermere Real Estate Services here in Southern California, which pretty much, ran the gamut of all of his responsibilities there, operations and development and training and everything within Windermere. He was a chief operating officer at First Team Real Estate, which is California's largest independent. That is where Mark and I's paths kind of crossed. We didn't work there concurrently, but we both were First Team Real Estate employees for a while, so we have a little common bond there. After First Team, he went and was managing Nook Real Estate in Newport Beach, and helped to grow that company until it was eventually sold to Compass. Was that 2022, Mark, that was sold?
It was 2020.
2020, so a couple years ago. Oh yeah, good time in real estate. 2020. We can talk about that a little bit as well. Now Mark is managing broker at Seven Gables Realty. Here is a boutique brokerage. It's been around. How many years in Orange County? It's been around for at least
it'll be 50 years in 4 years. So 46 years.
We were talking to someone in Vegas a few weeks ago, Dave Tina, who they started a company called Urban Nest. And I always thought Urban Nest is such a cool name. And I had mentioned that another cool name for a real estate company is Nook, because I always thought that was really cool. And now you actually happen to be in the third coolest named real estate company, because you can't really beat Seven Gables as the name of a real estate company too. So all about the branding. Jan mentioned Mark is an author, and he wrote the book and training series Branded Agent. Looking forward to hearing a little more about that. That came a little while ago, and he's in the process of working on his new book, his new masterpiece now. Is the title firm? Or is it going to be called Resonate and Compel?
Resonate and Compel.
That's right. Awesome. Now, I love reading someone's bio, because you always pick up a little something on them, right? This is a little fun fact I did not know. And my Googling today did not get me the opportunity to get any sort of blackmail video I could have done. But I didn't know that you hosted the HGTV National Open House series. Did you just do that for one episode, or what was the series? Well, we'll get into that.
I think it was a couple seasons, and I was their Florida guy.
Oh, that's
cool. So I was part of my decade in Florida. That was a little piece of it that I enjoyed. I wasn't very good at it, Matt and Jan.
I can't believe that for a minute.
I enjoyed it very much.
I'm going to have to continue my search to find video of that. And if you have some, please send it to us, because I'd love to put that in our show.
all that stuff, it's so old now, it's on disc. And so it's hard to, I'm sure it's somewhere, but I definitely have discs.
Yeah, get out the Betamax tapes. And
exactly.
Mark and I have sat down, we had lunch one time after he had left first team. And I find you very compelling. You are very inspirational. You obviously are a strategist. You know a lot about this business. You've got a huge drive. But one thing that really resonated with me at the time,
you just used both the words in his.
I know.
He's a great book. Very well done, Matthew.
What really drives Mark is his family, and he's got two kids and a wonderful wife that certainly are the reason why. And I'm, here I am speaking for Mark, but certainly seem to be the reason why he gets up in the morning and does what he does. So, you got to be able to have the whole life, right? Have a little work-life balance going on there, and I think that you've been able to achieve that. So, all right, clearly I've talked too much already. So
beautiful. I appreciate it.
Let's just start out today, Mark, by kind of going back to the beginning, and because you do have a strategic mind, and you do have a business acumen, and you clearly are creative, in the way that you look at things. What actually brought you to become an actual real estate agent in the first place?
Sure. I was 22. I just graduated from the University of Virginia. I'm an East Coast guy, and I got home and really didn't have a whole lot of direction. A lot of my friends had gotten, jobs early and gone to these job fairs, and I was busy drinking and doing fraternity nonsense and not paying attention. So I got home and realized that I really had to figure it out. And a buddy of mine had dragged me in to buy a couple investment properties. And subsequent to that, he said, "Hey, you know what? To save some money in buying these, we should have our license, and then we can get some commission, and it'll pay our closing costs." So at 22, I went and got my license, and I did other things. I was the chief of staff for the lieutenant governor when I was 25. I worked at JP Morgan for a few years, but ultimately I wanted to kind of do, Daniel Pink has three things that drive us. And Matt, you left a big footprint, by the way, at First Team, and that's how I knew you. Everyone loved you so much. So, and I enjoyed that lunch that we had very much. But Daniel Pink said, and this was kind of the antithesis of where some of these companies that we've all been with, money drives people, and it's not really. It's autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And I didn't know it at the time, but working for a company like JP Morgan, I was working for someone else, and I really wasn't that invigorated. I wasn't that driven. And ultimately, and I'll get this light back on in a second, we're saving energy over here, so it goes out, nobody moves for a little bit, so I'll try to keep moving. Ultimately, I wanted to work for myself, and real estate and having that license led me to the industry that way.
Wow.
That's great.
So great beginnings.
Yeah, exactly. So your move from being an agent into getting into, the more business side of was it relocation? Was that what did that, or just? That's not quite as wonderful a story. So by the time I was 35, I had taken gone from 22 to 35 and learned a ton about branding myself and becoming an agent. And a lot of what I write about is still from actually being an agent and having to do, right? And I made enough money by the time I was 35 in this business, particularly in Florida, where I did very well, to become partner in an investment development company. And we developed 128 condos in 2006, right at the bottom of where everything fell off. And so I took all my winnings from 22 to 35 and gave them back, essentially.
Oh, wow.
And then some. And so it took the next many years to dig myself out of that. I was kind of the duck. I tried to be cool on the surface, but I was really paddling very hard. We had moved, my daughter's an actress, we had moved back to the East Coast. I had bought a Sotheby's up there with a little bit that I had left, and So we were back and forth between the East Coast and New York, where she was trying to become an actress. She was, as a young kid, we subsequently moved to New York. So I started this, and you all will appreciate that. I really started zigzagging across the country. I worked for Concierge Auctions for a little bit, and did a Sotheby's kind of company where I flew around the company and looked at very big properties, and we put 1 out of 20 that we looked at for auction, and these were $50 million properties. That was fascinating. Did a lot of things, did a lot of wandering. I didn't feel lost. I'm a journeyman, so I became a journeyman after a good 15 years in the industry, and liked management. I always thought I was going to be a coach. My dad was a football and basketball coach, so I kind of, hey, this guy's going to be a coach. So I enjoy that part, like I know you all do, and so that's kind of what drives me now, is having a light bulb come on for agents. But long answer to a short question, which I'm good at, by the way, so I'll try to watch that. But that's how I did the transition. It wasn't. I'd probably still be selling if it wasn't for the downturn in 2008, or I'd be developing and I'd be doing that.
Where in Florida were you based, Mark? In Florida?
So Sarasota, so on the Gulf Coast, right below Tampa, is
beautiful,
really wonderful area, and I still have wonderful friends there. I'm actually part of a deal that's 20 condos going on there now. So I wasn't too scared to go back, but I'm just on the marketing side for that with a partner, and we'll stay that way.
Yeah, I have family down in Fort Myers. I was just actually down there last week.
Nice.
And Jan actually was in Florida for a little while, right, Jan?
I'm licensed there, and I was in the Tampa Gulf Coast, nice. But I actually went to Sarasota looking for some folks for property. So I loved it.
Very cool.
Very small. Beautiful city, it has that nice feel. It's like a really different feel in Florida. Sarasota is.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is not I'm not saying this with glee, but I'll tell you where is going to be the next great build out in Florida is Fort Myers Beach, which was annihilated by Ian. I was shocked when we drove down through there. Not a single business or home or nothing is inhabited right now. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's a populous area. My in-laws are in Venice, so just north of that. So we know that area well, and great market, great place to live.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, so give us a little, so you did a little brokerage hopping for a little bit there, right? We did.
Yeah. So I've enjoyed that. That's the journeyman part of kind of what I've done. I think I've done good work everywhere I've gone, but subsequent to sales, I tend to I go in, I do my best, and I've been moving on, and I don't think I've burned any bridges. I hope and continue. I don't know how long that will go on. I'll probably end up back on my own at some point. I think that's a bit of a driver right now, but I love Seven Gables. I love the agents here. We're a coaching model here. We've transitioned from management model to coaching model. I'm a Staver certified coach. And so I think the agents have really enjoyed that aspect. So we're doing a little bit less deal doctoring, although there'll be a line out my door after this of, hey, got a minute? But that's part of the deal.
That never changes, does it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna look as I look.
I have a quick question. When did you write your first book? Your book on branding was about 10 years ago. Did you say? Can you tell us a little bit about that and the key points?
Sure. Thank you for asking. 2013, the book was branding for real. It's actually my second. The first one was way back in 2008. But that was a bigger book for me just because I could kind of coach around it. So branding for me is the most important and first thing that we do with an agent, and that is to find their voice, their promise of value. Really try to look under the hood to see what they're aligned with so that we can subsequently align them with the right target market so that they do this authentically. We work on their style, their identity, their message. We then kind of purport that over to their aesthetics and their collateral and their outreach, and so that we are checking all the credibility boxes, but also creating a brand that they are proud of and that they can carry authentically to their target market, and subsequently with consistency become the target market agent of choice. And so whether that's through farming or networking, or just the usual outreach, that's where we start. And so that's why there wasn't enough material on it at the time that I thought that an agent, what I didn't know at the time was how to sell a book. And so, I just, you wrote it and like, hey, it's going to take off if it takes off, and it didn't. And without pushing a book, it doesn't do anything. But I did get a letter from the #1 sales agent in Canada at the time, because I got a big order of like 1,800 books. And with a letter, he said, this is the best marketing book I've read, and I've bought it for my whole he was doing some sort of speaking thing. And so that was my big sale of it.
Wow.
Didn't go much further beyond that. But the point there was you really have to be systematic in your approach to that. We grew up thinking that branding was gauche, personal branding. You don't talk about yourself. You don't, but it really is the first place to start. And we kind of liken it to when you're on an airplane, you put your mask on first, and then you put the kid's mask on. People are going to judge us in 4 seconds these days, and so we better prepackage what we got to prepare for that 4 seconds well.
So through your coaching of your agents and whatever else you've been doing, I'm dying to know what your take is from the time you first wrote that to what's happened in the last years with the digital age. And because we're all over social media and it's changed everything. And I just want to get a sense of how do you help everybody adjust to that? Because if you're not out, in my opinion, if you're not out doing video right now and comfortable with that and bringing that, everything you just so eloquently said, to the online sector, then I think you're missing out. But I'm wondering if you agree, or how do you coach your agents up on that?
100%. I think the ethos behind a personal brand hasn't changed. That the mechanics behind finding and building and establishing and promoting that brand is still the key. How we get it out to people has changed. So in kind of rewriting this book, the big changes, Jan, have been around the outreach components. And so I teach to a very narrow roadmap that has 4 components. And that is, we attract people, we consult with them, we serve them, and we nurture them again. Okay. And so those are 4 pieces. And within those 4 columns, there are 3 things that I have agents do. I'll just take the first one, attract. That's establish your brand, learn how to farm, and learn how to network. And it's very simple. And that's how I think that answers probably your first of the big 5 questions. And that is, but we'll get to those. So what's changed is the last column around nurture. And that's about follow-up and technology and automation, and social media is now such a big part of, and my agents are meeting the other day. Social media makes us all a little tense and want to make some of them want to throw up and run and do a million things, but that's where eyeballs are. And that's where they got to get comfortable, whether they like it or not. And it used to be like, well, you don't need to do, so you may not need to do. Well, you do. Right. I'm sorry, but you can find your lane in some of those platforms, but you need to be there. So cool. The big chunk of that wasn't in the 2013 is the mechanics behind the outreach.
So that's where you're taking with this cool name, Resonate, which I resonate with big time, because I think it's all about that. Resonate and compel. It's, you've got to attract is what it's all about, but through branding, that word resonate is very powerful. That's the attraction piece. You'll attract people.
It's very much so. And it's the rifle approach instead of the shotgun approach that we all kind of were spun into back in the 70s and 80s, where we just were told to throw up and sell on everybody. And people love to buy. They don't love to be sold to.
Right. Correct.
And they want to be sold on you, not by you. And so those 2 pieces in itself mean that we've got to really get granular about what makes us different and what our promise of value is, And if that doesn't resonate with the target market, you're off. And so we've got to authentically align each agent. We're all very unique, and we might talk about CRMs, Matt. I think, I've bought more CRM for companies over the years that have gotten an 8% adoption rate. We've wasted $1 million. And the reason is every agent is wired different. What works for one doesn't work for another. It doesn't work for another. Most of the time I'm pushing, and I have a box of index cards now, because the 96% or 92% that wasn't using the CRM, they get the index card. Like, oh, I can do this. I can take one and put it in the back of the box. And now it's
Isn't that amazing? That's back.
That's simple. Yeah.
It's whatever is going to work for someone. I'm so on a track
exactly
with
right.
what you just said. It's like, don't force something down somebody's throat. I've been the biggest proponent, Matt, of like, do we always preach CRM? But I found the same thing in getting back into real estate myself. I'm like, I'm not even using this CRM. So you know what we use currently? A Google Drive.
Right.
Yeah.
A Google Drive spreadsheet, because it's working for us. It's a system that we use every day and it works. So why would we try to change it?
That's right.
Ultimately, the CRM concept of CRM is what
the concept.
What the
correct.
thing is, right? You know what I mean? You're absolutely right, Mark. These large brokerages that for so many years tried to push everyone into that one box, which people were not adopting, was a big, huge problem. And it's just fun to kind of see some of these companies now, to see how they've kind of unwound that philosophy and then started on the whole new way of training their agents. It's really fascinating, actually.
Agreed. And I was a pusher. I'm a recovering widget addict, and used to be teased for chasing the new thing. And I've gotten over the hump. I'm really have, particularly here, I've gotten wound, like you said, a ton of things, because it was just the big agent problem was being overwhelmed, and it still is.
Absolutely. Most of the company tools are the agents, are the company's best kept secret, because agents do not use it. At First Team, good Lord, Mark, you and I could talk about the tools at First Team. There were like a plethora, thousands of tools at First Team, right? That were not utilized by agents. They were all fantastic tools, and if you utilize them correctly, were fantastic.
For every company, every franchise, every broker, it's the same story. So I just think it's the whole simple, whatever works. Keep it simple.
Yes.
And do go with something that you're going to enjoy looking at every day. And but the key is follow up, right? You're nailing the whole thing. It's one thing to generate business, but if most people are in the pipeline for a while, if you're not doing something to stay in touch with them, love the idea, back to the index cards, because that could work for someone who likes the idea of, I move it from where we are today in May to June 25th. I'm going to follow up with that person, right? Is that the kind of index system we're talking about?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, since we're talking, let me cut you off for a second, Mark. Since we're talking about that, let's just jump into the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are absolutely covering that very first question here. The very first question is, what's the best idea you have for your SOI and past clients? And you know what? If index cards are the answer, that's the answer.
So I think my answer to the number one is, I'm glad I got a chance to give it a little bit of chatter. It's just consistency. I run into a lot of intensity with agents at different times, and intensity is great, but the curve goes up and goes down. And I try to teach and coach consistency, because ultimately that, and particularly outreach, it takes 8 postcards to create awareness. It creates 8 more to create acceptance. So there's runway in this business that you have to be prepared for. And so I think there's a lot of companies that promise a lot of things. There's no silver bullet. There's no easy button. There's no special widget that's going to take the place of any of this. I think if I can drive value at the touch points for agents, so whether that's an open house or whether we create an event for a young agent that is surrounded by millennial potential buyers and we get them into a first-time home buyer situation, it's in the real world. It's not behind the screen that I need to get these agents. They've grown up behind the screen, and statistics show that social media is not where people are finding their agent. That's where an agent can augment value, but the numbers show it's a very, it's in the single digits as to where did you find your agent online on social media? No, they didn't. And so it's in the real world. And that's the big push that I have to get with new agents and even old agents. And Matt, you mentioned the pandemic. We all got really bad habits during the pandemic, thinking that we could do everything behind here. Obviously, we learned, like your program, that we can do a lot of good, but we're not sealing the deal unless we're out pressing the flesh. And so that's number one for me is consistency and getting out.
What is your top tactic that's not sphere of influence that you might share with agents and so forth for generating new business that's not staying in touch with your past clients or anyone that you know?
Okay, so that one's been beat to death, I take it, because 70% does come from your sphere. The other 30% of your business is going to come from creating valuable programs for people that you may or may not know. So I'm a big program guy, and so we have relationships with a few mortgage lenders, title companies, escrow companies, where we have programs to educate new buyers, seasoned buyers, and those it certainly plays into getting out and meeting people in the real world. And so if you're not doing programmable deliverables, you've got to. And you might get 4 or 5 people there, but that's 4 or 5 people that now know you. And if you've aligned your brand correctly, they like you and believe you and trust you, and you've got a good shot at doing some deals. And obviously that means they're interested in real estate at some level in the funnel.
Love it.
Very good.
I love it.
Mark, what holds you back?
Yeah, I looked at this. I want to say time and not being able to say no. I have, like you all, I have so much at 56 that I want to do in this industry in terms of coaching and sharing what I've learned and the pitfalls that I've encountered. The only thing holding me back is the time to do that. And that means, I do. Obviously, there's management requirements here that are take some time. But beyond that, I work at night, and it's not really work. It's what I love to do. I mentioned I've got a bungalowsandcottages.com, which is it's a website and a social. So it's interesting. Real quick, at Nook, one of my companies, we had 20 agents at the time, and I said, listen, you have to be better at social media, and I'm going to show you how to do Instagram. So in March of 2018, I said, I'm going to start an Instagram account and watch what I do. And so fast forward, 4 or 5 years later, it has 213,000 followers. It
wow.
Which is a lot. It's got 30,000 on Facebook. I took something because what I didn't want them to learn was, hey, this is how to go and, do something weird. It was real estate. Thank you. That's number one coaching. So it's real estate centric, and people love. Somebody told me this back in 2001 when I started my first real estate website in Lakewood Ranch in Florida, outside Sarasota. I said, wow, I've got all these pages, and doing website was fairly new back then, and it did very well. Because back then we had 5 million houses on the market and 5 million people searching for houses. Now we still have 5 million houses and 90 million people, and so the conversion of online is very steady. It's less than 1% at this point. But at the time, somebody said to me, people just want to see houses. They just want to see houses. And so, we get caught up a lot of times behind let's tell them about this. No, just show them they're aspiring homeowners. They want a better life. They want everything a home offers. Just show them homes. And so I still kind of fall back to that. And that's what this social media site and website does. It celebrates bungalows and cottages. And we've gotten a ton of bungalow and cottage enthusiasts who look for our home of the day every day. We have people that pay to be home of the day across the country.
I just followed you.
Who manages that?
And these leads go out to agents. So the leads that I get go out to agents across the country.
Brilliant idea.
It's been fun. It's a micro Zillow that is in its own little niche.
That's very cool.
So I took us way off of what holds you back.
No, I
But
like
my
that.
point
I'm all
was,
about this.
time holds me back because I love these little things that we can do with our license beyond sell homes, right? We can
And I know,
defer
as
things out.
we all get older, I know that time is also it becomes a commodity, right? And you're wondering what you're going to do with those last,
Yeah.
not doom and gloom. You know what I mean?
The second half. Why don't we just say the second half?
Second half.
Yeah.
Love that.
The second act.
Golden years, right? But but as you're winding down your career as opposed to starting your career
100%.
out, and you want to best utilize your time, right, and be able to give back, and kind of fill in those holes that you weren't able to do. So absolutely.
And I think you all are a great example of that with your wonderful work here. I used to follow your blog all the time, Matt. My wife is a licensed guide for bucket list travel. She goes all over the world with
Awesome.
bucket list, and so I'm a hiker. I love what you guys are doing. So
That's cool.
So this question, we just love to see if you want to share anything that it can be anything. If there's something that just is recent or has always been with you, that it's been inspirational to you, it can be in any category. We'd love to hear what it is.
So, and we're talking books and podcasts and videos. I have
anything or person, anything that's been like the question. We like to ask the question, like, what pops into your head when we say, what has inspired, what or who has inspired you the most in your life and career?
Oh, good. I love these. Beyond your podcast inspiring me, I do. I'm a Sam Harris follower. So it's a Waking Up podcast. Sam Harris is a neuroscientist from UCLA who's written some really great books. He's a meditator, but also a really big thinker. And so I think people would like that. In terms of videos, I'm always pushing Simon Sinek, Why? So I show that once a year. I think that's valuable. And there's Art Williams was an insurance salesman, and there's a video out that I show every year called Just Do It. It was back in the 60s, I think it feels, and it's a fantastic 5-minute video. So that's the video wise. In terms of what we're reading, we are a ninja company. I've been a ninja guy for years. Larry Kendall, I think, kind of the antithesis of cold calling and the kind of the KW approach, a numbers game. It's very thoughtful approach to real estate, which resonated with me. And then I actually have right here is Exactly What to Say, and that's a fantastic book. You've probably seen it, but it's
I love it.
Oh, that's a great book. Yeah. So Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones and Jimmy Macklin and Timmy Smith are in here as well.
Oh yeah, I love those
Jimmy
guys.
Smith. Yeah, they're good, right? So they're all in here, and Exactly What to Say and it's each little 2-page chapter is on the way to say something, and so it's bite size, which we all need these days with the onset of limited attention, but so it works well. And so those are some of that's what I'm pushing to my agents this season.
Love it.
And I think, yeah.
Awesome. So just kind of wrap up the 5, what's really your best advice for agents or small brokers or team leaders for 2023, but not just for 2023, just for 2023 and really beyond? What's going to keep them thriving throughout their career?
So I'll bring this back to brand. Every successful real estate agent and broker has a powerful personal brand, whether they were deliberate about it or not. And we've done that research to top production. Everybody's got that promise of value that's wrapped up in a green tattoo that they've created with a kind of a 360-degree assault for total market mind share is what we call it. And that's making sure your brochure looks just like your email signature, looks just like your postcard, looks just like your presentation, so that this creates this credibility of brand that aligns with specific people. And when they look at it, even peripherally, they know that, wow, this person's really taking care of their business. And that means they can probably take care of my needs really easily too. And so that's what we're trying to do. And that's what Resonate and Compel is about. And I'm excited to get that out in book and work for you all are coaching with your programs, which I think are fantastic. And that's what will be is a small little program on setting your business up right at the beginning. And then you still have all those other column of activities to do. And you got your presentations and your consultations, and you've got to know your contracts and contingencies and conditions and your timelines. You've got to be an agent. But the aspect of kind of packaging yourself was always put in the background, but it's really important. So that's my number 5.
Yeah, we always, it's like run your business as a business, right? And work on your business. What is it, Jan? Work on your business while you're in your business.
Yeah,
right?
because you can get consumed in the business and you never work on the business. A la the E-Myth Revisited, one of my favorite books.
Exactly.
Very, very
Wonderful stuff, boy. I always get great ideas. You saw me over here writing. If you were, because I've got to go check out some of these things that you talked about and some real pearls of wisdom. Mark, thank you for sharing them with us today.
Yeah, as
and our audience.
We will have all of Mark's information, links to all of his good stuff over at not what holds you back. Let's put the right thing up here. Over at WBNLpodcast.com. This was episode 238. Really appreciate you joining us today, Mark. You really are an inspiration. And ever since we sat down for that lunch, I don't know, it's weird because we've only met live one time, and I feel like I know you. It's a very interesting thing, and it's probably a little bit. It might be a little bit of that first team thing there because we all know, there's a brotherhood there in a way. So,
yeah, for sure, we've been through it. Well, I've enjoyed being here. Love what you guys are doing, and appreciate it very much.
Awesome. Well,
thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Like I said, all the stuff over in the show notes. Take care of yourself. Trust me, still cold and flu season, just in case you didn't know. FYI. Get up, get out, and be forever wandering, but not lost.
Wonderful.